Hello, art teacher here with you again, and I'm embarking on another several part series, and in this case it's going to be about value. But first I'm going to make this one short. First let me ask you to go ahead and if you like the video, subscribe so that you can get an email and a notification when a new one comes out. Like I said, I'm committed to doing at least one a week. Also, do the little likes and the shares and all of that kind of good stuff that they do on Facebook. Now, I got a few things I'd like to do. I'm going to introduce value, and like I said, this is going to be a 3 or 4 part series. And again, value, that refers to the levels of gray between black and white. So that's my definition, and here I have a few posters. So this would give you an idea here. See, it's starting with white and it ends with black. And then each level gets a little bit lighter as it goes up the value scale. And over here I have a sphere. And that's just a circle with the shadows put on it. And what that does is it shows form. It makes it into a 3-dimensional mass. And here I have a shading value scale. And over here I have one with a technique called cross-hatching. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. But what I want to do for sure today is demonstrate a value scale. A couple quick examples of what you can do with value and why it's important. It's going to be important for shadows. Anytime you want to put shadows on something, you're going to have a decent shading technique and be able to control the levels of gray between black and white. Now I make mention of this little tool. It's a regular number 2 pencil. It works fine for what we're doing. You can get the fancier sets of graphite pencils if you'd like, or charcoal, but good old number 2 pencil that you take the tests with and write with is good. But don't think of it as a writing tool. We're so used to doing little numbers and letters with it, these small symbols, that we lose sight of the fact that it's got a lot more potential than that. You know, in our regular use of a pencil, we never consider the fact that if you press harder on it, it's darker. If you press lighter on it, it comes up with a lighter mark. That's just not considered with 90% of the time we use a pencil. But now that's the main thing we're focusing on. Here's an example of a little drawing, well actually not little, but a bigger drawing I did using value to create shadows, where I have what's called, and I'm going to do a whole video just on this, but highlight, core of the shadow, reflected light, and cast shadow. You don't need to worry too much about that. I'm going to do a whole video just on that. I just wanted to give you an example of the type of thing that you can do once you get your a good shading technique together. And to do a good shading technique, you're definitely going to want to try to do some value scales. So let's get right to it, a demonstration on making a value scale. And this is going to be an important lesson. You can do this with color pencils. For instance, if you have a blue color pencil, you can go from the bottom one being the darkest and each one getting a little bit lighter. So you can you can even do this, a value scale using watercolor paint. Let me put this up so that you can have a good reminder, and I can point at that as I go. What I'm going to do is make a 7-level value scale. For this one, you simply need pencil, paper, and ruler. In this case, I'm just going to put the ruler along the edge of the paper like that. So, make a line about 7 inches long. So what I did, I put the ruler flush with the edge, and I made a line at an arbitrary spot 7 inches down. Now I'm going to take that ruler and put it right there at the top of that and do a line next to it, the width of the ruler or the thickness of the ruler. So another 7-inch long line. There we are. So now I just have these two parallel lines, meaning, you know, next to each other lines. And they're 7 inches long. Now, what I'm going to do is mark those off, one little dot every inch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All I need, I guess, are 6 because the top and bottom comprise the other parts. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I made my little dots at 1 inch increments. Now I'm just going to connect those dots. More or less, these should be more or less parallel to the top and bottom of this page. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it is nice to have good craftsmanship, so try to keep that in mind. So I simply have this little ladder type thing, and you'll go from dark to white. So from black to white, and then these in-between ones will each get a little bit lighter as they go. Here's the thing. Start at the bottom. Start with the darkest one. And really make it dark and very even. Now I have a lot I can say about that, because as you know, and if you've been watching the videos, you know I've been doing this a long time. So I know the types of things and the types of problems that I run across when students are doing a project like this. And parents, I really want you to be careful on this, because the success on this lesson depends on really having a good eye for uneven areas. So let's just go ahead and make a box over here, and I'll demonstrate how not to do it. So, you know, some kids who are messy might want to get away with that kind of thing. Well, that's clearly not what we're doing. That's an extreme example of how not to do it. Let me give you another example of one that might be a little more in the ballpark, but still not quite what we're looking for. I am staying in the lines here, and that's good. You want to stay in the lines more or less, and if you don't, then you can trim it with your eraser. And I'm filling in the entire box, but it's a process of refinement, really. So this one, you should be able to see that pretty clearly. Well, it looks okay, right? But no, that's really not okay. You see, this area here is darker than the area above it. And here I have a line right there which is darker than the areas on both sides. And even if you tried for, say, half an hour, it would be hard to get it perfectly even, right? But that's what we're going for. And the point is, it's the same process I always point to. Your student needs to be able to look and see for themselves where the errors are and self-correct. It's all about self-correcting, and that's how you get better, right? So, if they can spot themselves where an area is a little lighter than another area within one box and fix that, that's when they're on the path to really getting good. Now, you're going to find also these little white dots up here. They're going to zip those out of there with their pencil also. So that's going to be the crux of the assignment, is developing the ability for your student, your child, or whoever you're working with to self-correct. That's what this is all about. So start with the darkest one, and as you can see this dark one isn't so perfect either. But I said you could work on each one of these squares for half an hour, and it still wouldn't be perfect. There would still be room for improvement on all of those. Anyway, start with the darkest one, make the next one a little bit lighter, and so forth, right up the scale. And here I have one that's kind of a printed. Let me just get rid of all the distracting stuff. And this one's more of what I would call a printed piece. So, yeah, if you have a printer do it, and you do it on a computer, you can develop black, dark gray, little bit toward darker side of medium, medium, lighter side of medium, light gray, and then white. So that's pretty much what it should look like when you're done. So, quick review on this one. Get a ruler. Take your ruler against your paper. Make it flush to the edge of the page like that. Make a 7-inch long line. Then scoot the ruler over a little bit and make a line parallel to it so that you have two 7-inch long lines next to each other. Measure out 1-inch increments and then put a dot there and make your lines going across till you get this ladder type looking thing. Start with the darkest one and make each one get a little bit lighter as it goes up. Make sure the student knows how to self-correct. That's going to be the main thing. Get it each box as even as possible. That's how you're going to make it look good, and that's how you develop skill with a pencil. And remember, think of the pencil as a drawing tool, not a writing tool. It's a little different way to approach it. Hey, I hope you really get something out of this, and I hope you do this lesson, because making a simple value scale develops two things. It develops basic, I guess you call it psychomotor skills, which means the ability to use your eye, brain, and hand together as one unit. And it develops that ability I talked about, to be able to spot your own errors and correct them and fix them. And that's the core of developing these skills. Hey, hope you enjoyed it. Hope you get a lot out of it. And I'm going to have a few more of these types of lessons about value. So hang in there and keep coming back, and we'll let you know when we post those. You take care. Thanks.